Hi, Dave.
Hi Hayden, how are you?
I'm good.
You sound like you're in some sort of wind tunnel in New Zealand.
No, I'm just outside. This is what it sounds like outside New Zealand.
How's your week going?
It's okay. Got some kind of sort of post-viral fatigue, and my eye is twitching. If anyone is a medical expert, my eye has been twitching for like 1 to 2 weeks.
Have you been sick? I didn't know this.
I don't tell you stuff, Dave. You're a great guy, but I don't think that you would care. You've got a busy life over there as a celebrity. In fact, I think you'd be annoyed to find out about other people's problems, if anything.
I really love that you just called me a celebrity. I love that. It really tickled a core part of my LA being.
Yeah, that's sort of derogatory. I mean this in the most derogatory possible way.
I'm really excited to call you today because I often call you about things that that both of us don't know that much about. But today I'm calling you about the episode we're about to do, which is about sort of the impact of Christian music in America. And we both grew up in this world, and so holy shit, what a thing to call you about.
I love Christian music. It was the first music I ever listened to, Christian rock. A lot of my formative music experiences, all Christian rock.
What was the first Christian band that you listened to, do you think?
One called Audio Adrenaline, and they had an album called Some Kind of Zombie. So I think the zombie must have been some sort of reference to sort of Christian rebirth or something, because you die and with Jesus in your heart and then reborn with Jesus. I think it must be that kind of thing.
For anyone listening that isn't really familiar with the concept of sort of contemporary Christian music, what differentiates it from, the rest of the music that we're all listening to on Spotify and Apple Music and whatever other horrific platforms we're on?
Well, there's a great description in one of these classic features that ran in Esquire or something. I can't even remember the author's name, where he just describes it as like regular music but worse. And some of the bands that were in that space did have some crossover, like Creed, for instance. I think it was just a very safe version of rock that our parents could expose us to without getting Satan infiltrating through our ears and into our heart, which was a real concern back then. You did have the satanic panic and stuff.
I'm David Farrier, a New Zealander accidentally marooned in America, and I want to figure out what makes this country tick. Now, recently I attended a Nine Inch Nails show here in Los Angeles. They're one of my favorite bands, but it reminded me of a time in my life when I would never have ever dreamed of listening to them because they were way too evil. Growing up Christian, I had a different type of music in my life, contemporary Christian music, or CCM for short. And it recently dawned on me that all this formative music came from, you guessed it, the United States of America. It was born thanks to those heavily affected by the 1960s Jesus movement, a happy, clappy outpouring of spiritual ecstasy that started on the West Coast and then spread like a virus all over North America, Europe, and places like faraway New Zealand. The Jesus movement started to chill out in the 80s, and that's when CCM really came into its own, breaking away from boring old hymns and church songs that were considered too lame for kids of the 80s and 90s. From there, Christian music arrived to fill in all the genre needs of Christian youth: pop, rock, hip-hop, metal, punk. Now Christian kids could listen to music that was less embarrassing, but would still mean they could get into heaven. I was right into it. No Nine Inch Nails for me. It was bands like DC Talk, Newsboys, Jars of Clay, and if I was feeling a bit rebellious, a little bit of Creed to fill in the gaps. So, get ready to rock, but without any references to sex, drugs, or alcohol, because this is the Christian music episode.
Flightless bird, touchdown in America. I'm a flightless bird, touchdown in America.
Rob, I feel this has been a long time coming. We've both dabbled strongly.
I think you more than me.
I was hard into it.
Yeah,
really hard.
This intro was doing a little bit of research for this episode was the first time I've heard CCM.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. CCM, what the hell is that? Christian contemporary music.
Yes.
Can I, just to deviate for a second, I want to get, we do feedback at the end of the show every week.
We have an important one.
We've got a really important one. I've never had the flightlessbirdchat@gmail.com email fill up as quickly.
And comments. I mean, this kind of overwhelmed our whole Chipotle.
It overwhelmed the entire thing. There are times when it's so like you can mention one thing. It's kind of like the nightmare is doing this. Like we ramble for an hour or something, right? Mm-hmm. You put it out. You can say like a lot of things. You can say a lot of good things, bad things, things you'd do differently. But occasionally you slip something in, and it just takes over the entire thing.
Yeah, and it's comfortable in here. It's just us.
It's just us talking.
Just
yapping.
Two bros hanging out in a studio.
So there was a lot of feedback. Most of it was very polite, but I wanted to read this slightly angry one because I love slightly like angry feedback. So Mindy wrote in.
Well, wait. You love slightly angry, but let's not encourage.
Oh, I'm not encouraging.
I love the like politely correcting, like sent us links to podcasts to go listen to about it.
Yeah. No, there were, I'd say there were hundreds of really beautiful ones. I just like people. I don't like it, but part of me finds it entertaining.
It stands out from the sea of politeness.
Honestly, it's exhausting. I want to be a big fan, but you're so ignorant about things that even mediocre Americans are already well versed in. There have been dozens of podcast episodes and articles over the last decade plus sharing the facts about the case of the McDonald's PR spin that somehow is the last info you took in about this case. Try the You're Wrong About podcast episode. I'm sure my shitty attitude isn't helping. I also emailed you about the fact that you still believe Supersize Me wasn't terribly kind to them either. She goes on, she signs off politely. But in essence, we made a big...
Do you want to start? It wasn't a McDonald's episode.
I just wanted to say, I've written a statement. I had also heard about this McDonald's lawsuit not being frivolous. On another hit podcast, hosted by a really handsome man called David Andrew Farrier. It was episode 4 of Flightless Bird, Suing, and the faultless, smart, charming host raised the McDonald's coffee lawsuit during that episode and had it very clearly explained to him by a lawyer that it was a very valid lawsuit. It was very clearly explained to him by a lawyer that it was a very valid lawsuit and that a woman had got horribly burnt thanks to a McDonald's coffee. Mm-hmm. I contacted the host, David Farrier, and got him to send me the clip from 3 years ago. I'm going to play it for you now.
You're always reading about it in headlines about frivolous lawsuits, America being this country of frivolous lawsuits. That woman who spilt a hot McDonald's coffee on her lap got reported everywhere. I'm curious if that's actually a thing or if that's just been blown out of proportion by the reporting and maybe it's not as frivolous as we think it is here.
I personally don't think it is as frivolous. And I do think that those cases have been hyped by business interests that have a incentive to make it seem like there are frivolous lawsuits. The McDonald's hot coffee case is a perfect example because what nobody knows about that case is actually this was a woman who suffered terrible burns on her body. She had offered to settle with McDonald's for her medical fees. They had refused. There was evidence that McDonald's superheated their coffee to 180 degrees so that they could reuse coffee because it saved them money. Rather than putting new fresh coffee in, they used superheated water so that they could reheat the grinds. They were warned that the coffee was dangerous. They ignored the warning. And then this woman went ahead and accidentally spilled this super hot coffee on herself. So there's an apocryphal story that's kind of been circulated by people who would have you believe that we're out of control and the system is just not working.
The lawyer did get one thing wrong. He said nobody knows this. A lot of people know this because
so
we got severely yelled at.
Yes, I found it very funny that on this very show, I had explained to me that it was not a frivolous lawsuit. Somehow my brain just decided to entirely throw that out of my head and just go, oh no, it was frivolous. And that's what we broadcast last week.
Well, I think I'm even more embarrassed because I'm the last person defending McDonald's.
The one time you defend McDonald's
Yeah,
and
I'm
it's
doing
based
it
in some bullshit.
Wrongfully.
It is funny though. It's like, I think it does sort of show how these like big narratives latch on and they're so hard to undo. I had a lawyer explain to me why it wasn't frivolous, and yet that story was so pervasive, it just completely went out of my brain. Anyway, I am grateful for everyone that wrote in. It was just very funny how many emails we got about it.
Yeah, it started right away. I was almost like, we maybe just should edit that part out of the episode because we got it wrong. Because one, I don't want to promote that.
Yeah, misinformation. Yeah, completely. No, I think we were right to leave it up. I think it creates. It's good to acknowledge,
engage the
when
audience,
we engage the audience when we fuck it up. It's nice to
with pitchforks.
So yeah, we'll do more feedback at the end. But thanks for everyone that wrote in about the fact that in the Chipotle episode we got it very wrong. That the McDonald's lawsuit was not frivolous. A woman got really fucked up with really hot coffee, and it was very bad. And McDonald's was shitty.
There were lots of frivolous lawsuits we could have picked from.
Yeah, they do exist. But there's not as many as you would think.
And I would like to just publicly apologize to the old lady that was burned.
100% horrible thing that happened. Must be annoying. I wonder if she was listening. Be deeply annoying for her to hear. So,
We should send her
God.
some Flightless Bird merch.
We absolutely should. Contemporary Christian music.
Contemporary Christian music.
The first mainstream artist that I really liked was Oasis. Before then, it was all Christian bands. To the point where when I dabbled, I had a moment in school. I was 16. Rodney Marston gave me 2 albums. He gave me a 9 Inch Nails record and a Tool record, 2 like very big like 90s acts that are still around today.
Yeah, I've heard of both of those.
And I'm still a huge fan of both. And I got those records, and 16 is quite late to be like listening to like fairly like big mainstream like secular acts. But for me, mind blowing. But I was so riddled with guilt because there was swearing. They're angry at God.
Sex talk.
Yeah. As I started buying 9 Inch Nails records, I would write on the back, like I had a little post-it note of tracks that I wouldn't listen to stay like pure. And so I could kind of I self-censored the records. Didn't leave many tracks to like listen to. But at this 9 Inch Nails show the other night, Trent Reznor's up there singing Your God is Dead and No One Cares. Back 16-year-old child David, that shit was self-censored. I could not listen to that.
16-year-old David was in the corner like
yeah, rocking.
So
that's how extreme it was, and that's why Christian bands were like my thing, because it's like it's pure, no swearing, no sex, and it's all talking about your love of God, and that's what you're into at that point.
Well, and knowing other Christians, guilt is so just baked into our personalities.
Yeah, big time.
That the fact that you felt that bad about listening to that, I feel like is really tied to that as well.
100%. It was not being deeply aware of like not sinning and having this deep idea that God, a Christian God, aka Jesus, was watching you all the time. Like there was no quiet time. So listening to naughty music that you've been told was bad was like, it made you feel like guilt, which is pretty nutty.
You're talking post-Christian music life. What were your CCM bands?
Top 3, Jars of Clay. They were sort of on the more mellow side. Love Jars of Clay. Newsboys, which they're sort of Australian band. They were incredible. Wrote some certified bangers. Entertaining Angels. Anyone who wants a really good song, it's the one. And DC Talk. And I should note, actually, at this point, we're going to do a part 2 of this episode.
We don't want to get yelled at.
Yeah, because so DC Talk and Newsboys, which is kind of a mad fact. Like I still listened up until recently to those bands, but they have been involved in a pretty horrific scandal, which we'll get into in part 2.
Yes.
But this episode just kind of wanted to talk about the genre and the entity, because for a lot of kids, including me in New Zealand, it was how we experienced different genres of music.
So I think for me, it was almost opposite. Like I did grow up going to church and stuff with my family. And there was just church music to me.
The quite boring songs, like the chorus.
Just what was played at church.
I see. Did you sing? Like, did you sing as a
No.
congregation?
I mean, the congregation did. I did not. I think the only thing that penetrated was the soundtrack for Jesus and the Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Oh, incredible.
I remember having that on CD.
Yeah, banger.
But for me, it was more Christian bands because it's a weird genre blurring thing where I don't like if you have Christians in the band, they then got labeled Christian bands.
Yeah, 100%.
There was like Underoath, Anne Boleyn, Copeland, Isley, MXPX, Me Without You had it a bit.
I had no idea MXPX was Christian adjacent until now. Right.
Page France had a lot of lyrics about Jesus and
So
religion.
this was music would you be going to shows or like downloading tracks, buying CDs?
Yeah, they were just like within the genre of music I was listening to. And then like Page with a Lion I got really into, and David Bazan was like had a lot of Christian themes in his music. And then even like Danielson and Sufjan Stevens. Like Sufjan Stevens was in Danielson.
Right.
And it was like Danielson, the like lead singer's other project was Brother Danielson.
So were you listening to this stuff because so I was listening to it because it was the only option I had.
Yes. I was not that.
That wasn't your world at all. Yeah, you're coming from that different place.
I like this musically at that age, and this lyrically was part of it, but it wasn't the like tie for me. I did realize I was kind of looking through these bands. A lot of these bands have siblings in the band, which was funny. So like Isley is a bunch of sisters. Copeland, Me Without You had brothers in it. Danielson had like a bunch of siblings.
What do you think that is? Is that just as I do like Christian families, like kind of it's okay to all hang out and it's not lame?
I think it's also getting into music because of church, and they're playing music together, and then they're like, "Oh, we want to make this music ourselves." Which I will note. I asked Sherry from Isley if she considered them a Christian band, and she said no.
Really? Yeah,
they
wasn't.
were Christians, and they came from the church, but they didn't consider themselves a Christian band.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because you can have a band full of Christians that are not a Christian band. They're not singing about Jesus or God. And then you can also have a band that has not all Christians in it, like a Creed, and some people consider them Christian. Contemporary Christian music to me is bands that exist to talk up Jesus, essentially, and the idea of like potentially converting people into the faith. I'm going to get into this next week because there is this like, with a lot of the music I was listening to, I think not your bands, but a lot of my ones, there was this underlying Christian nationalist edge to them that when I was in New Zealand, I just went over my head completely. But a lot like DC Talk and Newsvoice, heavily aligned with the Republican Party, and like music being blasted before the Capitol riots, that kind of thing. And I only recently learned about this. But there's that whole kind of underlying thing of like, no, we want to convert you into our religion. And that comes with like a few other things.
And then that's very different from people that grew up playing music in church and then decided to make a career of it. A lot of, the members were Christian, but it doesn't necessarily make them a Christian
Exactly.
band.
And it's that thing like, if I go back and listen to a lot of that music, they're essentially like contemporary Christian music. A lot of it is like a love song, but they've substituted like a female character with Jesus.
Yes.
And that's quite a wild thing to listen back to. If you had just substituted Jesus for like Sally, it would be a whole different thing. You're like, this person wants to does this person want to fuck Jesus? Like, this doesn't seem good. But that's the vibe.
Yeah. Well, so I looked up top 10 Christian bands.
Oh, yeah, right. I'm very curious about this.
So I should have checked this. I don't know if these are all American or not.
Sorry.
Probably
Most
not.
of them probably will be.
You've got number 1 was Switchfoot. 2, POD.
POD was Christian.
Again, I think where there's this like blurred line of their Christian members and some of the lyrics are speaking of religion.
POD for me, you had Limp Bizkit doing the whole new metal thing. POD was like the safe version.
Yeah. 3 Jars of Clay.
Yeah.
for Sixpence None the Richer.
Forgot about them.
They did that song "Kiss Me."
Yeah. Oh, that's from the Dawson's Creek score.
Maybe
Jesus.
Jesus.
Goes back to that theory.
Striper,
Uh-huh.
DC Talk,
DC Talk, not good.
Flyleaf,
Mm-hmm.
Reliant K,
Mm-hmm.
Need to Breathe,
Never heard of them.
and the Newsboys.
Newsboys. Yeah.
I did find a funny quote. The singer of Switchfoot, Joe Foreman, when he was asked if they were a Christian band, his response was, "None of these songs have been born again, and to that end, there is no such thing as Christian music. No, Christ didn't come and die for my songs. He came for me."
Oh God. That's such like a bending over backwards answer. That's wild.
So again, like even making that list and even listing some of these other bands that I knew as kind of Christian music, Isley doesn't personally endorse that they were a Christian band. And I don't know that any of these bands necessarily do. But to that end, we talked to Aaron Gillespie from Underoath.
We did. Beautiful man.
They were a Christian band in that 2000 era music. So yeah, let's play that.
Just very basic question right at the top. Just please tell us who you are and what you're doing in LA right now.
What are you doing now? My name is Aaron Gillespie. I'm a musician and a writer and a producer. I've been in the same band called Underoath for 23 years.
23 years is a mad amount of time when you think about it. Most people don't do any one thing for like 10 years.
Sometimes I feel weird about it.
Well, you joined when you were 14?
15.
15.
Yes.
How did that happen?
My whole life growing up was church, based around church. Your friends, any social circle with your parents. It was all based around Christianity and the evangelical church.
Huh.
And for us specifically, charismatic evangelical church. So not Baptist, not Presbyterian, not Methodist.
Mega churchy vibes a little bit?
Mega churchy vibes a little bit, but like speaking in tongues, people falling over, 3-hour services, that. And there are mega churches of that, but ours was probably between 300 and 800.
Yeah, so smaller congregations, but all that stuff that you think of in evangelical Pentecostal land.
And it's not all evangelical churches aren't Pentecostal. They're not synonymous with each other. Anyway, so I was playing drums, and all I wanted was to be in a band. I'd always been like too loud for church. Like I saw when I was a kid, my aunt and uncle got divorced, and he was really into like Pearl Jam, my uncle, and fucking Nirvana and the coolest stuff. And he would pick my cousins up on the weekends, and in the summer, that's who I hung out with, was my cousins. So he would pick us up, and he showed us Nirvana and Pearl Jam. So I would watch these videos, like when Kurt Cobain died, it was like on all the channels, it was like MTV looked like CNN for a week. You know what I mean? There's ticker tape on the bottom. And they had this old video of Dave Grohl playing for Scream, which is like this punk band. He's fucking headbanging. He's doing it. And I was like, that's me.
This is me on screen.
But I wasn't allowed to listen to that music or purchase that music.
Only with your uncle.
Only with my uncle, who was like, and my mom would get home and she'd be like, "You stink like smoke and you can't be doing, smells like weed." Like he was that guy.
Yeah.
So I always hit two cymbals at the same time because I saw Dave Grohl do it. Blah, 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 you know what I mean? So I would do that in church and get in trouble.
Wait, so what kind of music were you playing at church? How would you describe it?
Our God is an awesome God.
No.
I went to church a lot growing up too.
You
My
did?
mom plays the flute. She still plays like 2-3 masses a weekend in the church band. So
wow.
all about Christian
And I
songs.
also grew up in like the Baptist church, and our churches were small, but they had like a lot of happy, clappy, sort of safe.
That was more ours too.
Wannabe kind of a bit of guitar, but all very like not quite all the way there.
This was in. So the churches I grew up in, it's like Diet U2.
Okay.
Oh God.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely makes sense.
That's what I feel like church music sounds like
Yeah,
now.
it's safe.
And I've made a lot of it in my career and in my life.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it that I like. I quite like U2. Not the U2 that like was forced onto our phones.
No. Yeah,
like,
pre that. Joshua Tree.
Yes. So like sort of like that, but with a choir. We had a 40-head choir.
Cool.
So I was playing. This guy saw me play drums, unbeknownst to me. And the next morning I woke up and I had school the next day. It was a Monday. And I got home And my mom is like kind of smiling when I walk in the house, and she's sort of like I got a cookie for you type of vibe. And come to find out, she goes, "There's a message for you on the answering machine." I'm like, "What does that mean?" Do you know what I mean? Like this is 98, 99.
Yeah.
And I play the message, and it's this guy named Luke Morton. And he's like, "My dad saw you play drums in church last night, and we heard you're awesome. Do you want to be in our band?"
Underoath, so they were already existed at that point?
No.
Okay.
This is a guy named Luke Morton starting a band called Underoath that I didn't know
Okay.
was called Underoath.
Okay.
So that weekend, that Friday, they picked me up in a white Beretta, like the old, like 2-door with an amp in the back. They pick me up, and I find out when they get there, they're going to drive me 120 miles north to a town called Ocala.
It sounds worrying.
And how old are they?
18.
18. Okay.
So I'm 15, and my mom let me get in this car and go. And they played me all this music on the way that I had never really heard. The only music I could consume was every Friday night my dad would get drunk, which was like a secret. He would drink Coors Heavy and listen to vinyl. So the only quotation fingers secular music I ever heard was that, which was like the Eagles and the Beach Boys and all that stuff. And what my uncle showed us, on the weekends.
Wow.
So on the way there, they're playing me all this music, and they're like, "It's Christian." And it was just rock, crazy heavy metal and post-hardcore music that I never heard of, all local bands, like all from our scene. So we went up there and we wrote 3 songs. And we became a local band that put out a couple of EPs, and then we started touring full-time in 2003.
So you gelled into that pretty quickly as a 15, 16-year-old into that world.
It was easy.
You're like, I'm in a band. This is fun.
That's all I wanted.
Yeah.
But I'm still in that same band, which is fucking weird sometimes when I think about it, because we have children now. I have a 13-year-old son. So we have children now that are around that age, and there's no world where I'd be like, "Hey, go
Yeah,
ahead."
if you get home and your answer phone is blinking, you still have an answer phone, and someone's like, "I'm taking your kid on the road."
Dude, not a snowball.
It's not happening.
No.
You wouldn't let that happen.
No, not at all.
You said your boy's 8?
8. I got 8 and 3.
So in 5 or 6 years, your son's
Yeah, no way.
gonna go to Palm Springs and start a
Yeah.
band.
It's mad.
With kids that are 18.
18.
Although I was doing that when I was 15. Like my friends were 18, they were in bands, and my parents were fine with it.
Why?
Maybe it's because they were like Christian adjacent. Maybe it made it safe or something.
I think if I would have came out and said, "This is a non-Christian band," I would have been fucked where I stood. I don't think there was. My mom also, it should be noted, toured weekends most of my adolescent life in it's called a Southern gospel band, which is essentially like a Christian country band. Real regional, rural churches. She's wildly talented. She's in her 70s now and still plays every Sunday. And,
Sounds like we have the same mom.
yeah, she's been,
Sounds like you do.
she's like the boss. She plays piano and leads the thing.
When Underoath started, what was the discussion around we are a Christian band? Like, was that a big mission that you as a band had? Like, we are spreading the good word of this religion?
Yeah, so in heavy music, at the time, a big thing was straight edge, right? And
X's on your hands.
X's on your hands, which that was birthed from. They still put X's on your hands if you're 18 and you go to a club.
Yeah.
It was birthed from that. They used to do this thing. They would hold 2 fingers together if you were straight edge and you were like singing along. You would whatever. And we invented this thing where you put 3 fingers together and you go like this because it's like the Trinity, right?
Oh, wow. Nice.
Never told anyone that. I feel like I just took my pants off. I feel like I just took my pants off at the podcast.
Well, you're doing the shocker almost.
It's a little bit gross.
It's close to the
If you
shocker.
put this down, you're fucked, man.
Yeah, make sure the 3 fingers you're holding up are specific.
Yeah, so it was like this whole underbelly in our local scene. Like we grew up in the Tampa Bay area, which is like Clearwater, Largo, St. Petersburg, Tampa. And there was a homeless shelter there called The Refuge in downtown St. Pete, this is a whole other layer that's like, I would never let my child go to a homeless shelter to play music, but they did shows on the weekends. And every band came through there back then. MXPX and Hatebreed played there, like non-Christian bands. But there was like this underbelly of spirit-filled hardcore is what you called it.
Huh.
It started out as like, we weren't doing altar calls at shows, but damn close. at the end of your set, you always had to say, we do this for Christ, or whatever the, ad hoc thing was, you would say.
And what was the audience response? Do you think a lot of your audience were also Christians, or was some of that audience like, why are they talking about God now? Or were they really into it?
I think both.
Yeah.
In the late 90s, like that, in these local music scenes, a ska band would play with a hardcore band, would play with an emo band, would play with a post-hardcore band, would play with this guy with a fucking acoustic guitar. It wasn't segregated at all.
Who were the other big Christian bands at the time?
We weren't large yet at that time, but at that time, there wasn't a lot of. There was a band called Strong Arm from like Fort Lauderdale. MXPX was like the first.
Oh, were they Christian? Were they a Christian band? I interviewed them in New Zealand like
Did
a very long time ago, and My Other Life is like an entertainment report. I had no idea they were a Christian band.
They're not now.
Yeah.
Well, so the Christian music was just church music then.
Like large Christian music at the time would have been Stephen Curtis Chapman, Mike W. Smith, Amy Grant. Who's the guy that just got in trouble?
DC Talk. And
yes,
like
but what was he?
Newsboys.
Newsboys.
Okay.
That's the guy that just had all the allegations, right?
We're very familiar with that drama. Yeah.
Bro.
Insanity. Were you adjacent to that stuff like Michael Tate and those guys? Was that ever a part of your world?
So my story with Michael Tate goes way forward. So Underoath broke up in 2012, and I played drums for a band called Paramore, who is a large band. And the guitar player for Paramore, his brother was like the auxiliary guy in the band, and he played for Michael Tate's band after DC Talk. It was just before, so in between DC Talk and Newsboys, Michael Tate had a thing called just Tate. And the stories he told me like are absolutely mind-bending.
Right, so it aligns with everything that has come out about Tate.
I've only met Michael Tate once or twice, like at a festival. And he was always just a boisterous, loud, fun guy, really.
Yeah.
But I never knew how deep it was. I think as time goes on, more will come out.
This is something also like we're looking into. I've been looking into the Tate thing for a while because I grew up loving DC Talk and Newsboys. So that was some of the first music I ever listened to.
Jesus Freak rips right now.
Oh, a banger.
Yeah.
Absolute banger.
Yeah.
I love all that stuff. So when that stuff broke, I was really surprised. And a few people reached out to me about it as well because they know I'm interested in that world. But because it's in that world of sort of Nashville and Christianity, people are kind of too full of shame to say anything, and it just kind of carries on.
There was a time that he had allegedly, I don't have anything to back this up, but he had like a stunt family to like go to award shows and stuff with, because he was homosexual. He is a homosexual and was so closeted for so long because that lifestyle is so unaccepted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That he had to have like a stunt wife and children, which is a whole, the trauma from that alone is fucking, that's fucked. Right?
Well, no, that's the thing. I mean, the tragic thing I think with his story is that the scene he's in wouldn't let him be a gay man. So that all got so repressed.
Can you imagine?
And then that just rippled out in all these other horrific ways for decades.
Can you imagine?
Which is just such a mad thing.
The guy's 60 years old.
Is he 60?
And it's fucking crazy that he's been in the closet for 60 years.
Yeah.
What's that like? I mean, that alone is terrifying.
Yeah,
but also
completely.
the fact of the matter that he had to have like, not only being in the closet, but he had to pretend to be straight. That's a whole other thing. So anyways, the stories I've heard about him on tour that I'll spare the details of him having to rendezvous with men and do all this stuff in really weird ways. And it was just, the blind eye was turned so hard for so long that now it's like a big surprise. And everybody in Nashville's like, well, yeah.
Stay tuned for more Flightless Bird. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Support for Flightless Bird comes from Wild Alaskan. Now, one thing I have always struggled with, maybe it's like a New Zealand thing because I'm so used to getting like fresh fish in New Zealand all the time, but I find it really hard in America to know where to buy fresh fish. And I think it's one of the scariest things to get because you want it to be fresh, you want it to be good.
Yeah, I took a blood test recently and my doctor told me I needed to eat more fish.
You need to eat more fish.
So this is perfect.
Here comes Wild Alaskan. Essentially, the Wild Alaskan Company is the best way to get wild caught, perfectly portioned, nutrient-dense seafood delivered direct to your door. I have a big box of this that arrived the other day, opened it up, and I have my fish supply for the next 2 months. My freezer can actually barely fit it, but you can obviously choose how much you get. I got greedy. I am a big salmon guy. I also recently bought a thing you love in America, the toaster oven, which is not a thing we have, but I toasted some salmon. Holy mac, very, very, very happy.
Yeah, their fish are 100% wild caught, never farmed, which means there's no antibiotics, GMOs, or additives, just clean, real fish that support healthy oceans and fishing communities.
And yeah, because the fish, they're nutrient rich and full of flavor. Wild Alaskan fish is frozen off the boat to lock in the taste, texture, and nutrients like the omega-3s that Rob just
Which
mentioned.
is what I need.
Yeah.
And it's sustainably sourced, which we love on this show. Wild caught from Alaska. Every order supports sustainable harvesting practices, and your membership delivers flexible shipments, expert tips, and truly feel-good seafood.
And this is a really wonderful thing when you're trying something new. It is risk-free, 100% money-back guarantee. If you're not completely satisfied with your first box, Wild Alaskan Company will give you a full refund. No questions, no risk, just high-quality seafood into your belly.
Not all fish are the same. Get seafood you can trust. Go to wildalaskan.com/bird for $35 off your first box of premium wild-caught seafood.
That's wildalaskan.com/bird for $35 off your first order. Thanks to Wild Alaskan Company for sponsoring this episode. Support for Flightless Bird comes from Mint Mobile. Now, if you're still overpaying for wireless, it's time to say yes to saying no. At Mint Mobile, their favorite word is no. No contracts, no monthly bills, no overages, no hidden fees, no BS.
So ditch overpriced wireless and their jaw-dropping monthly bills, unexpected overages, and hidden fees, which I hate hidden fees. I hate overpriced mobile bills. Plans at Mint Mobile start at $15 a month.
And all the plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your number along with you, along with all your existing contacts.
We use Mint Mobile, and you should too.
I mainly just not like spending $85 a month. Really not missing that. So, ready to say yes to saying no? Make the switch at mintmobile.com/bird. That's mintmobile.com/bird.
Upfront payment of $45 required, equivalent to $15 a month. Limited time new customer offer for the first 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details.
My manager is he's been my manager since 2003. He's a Jewish man from New York. And he told me there was a time that I dabbled in trying to make some Christian-facing music. Because Underoath has always toured with secular bands and done our thing. And then for a time, we would say that we were a Christian band up until probably about 2010. So I quit Underoath in 2009 or 10 and tried to do my own thing. This is before the Paramore thing where I was like sort of playing in churches again. Like I felt a pull back to it. And he told me, he goes, I've never met worse people than the people in this business.
Huh. The business being Christian music?
The Christian music industry.
Yeah.
It's all based on charity a lot. People are like, if you do this, God will bless you. There's a lot of underpayment and then a lot of overpayment and then a lot of weird barter system stuff.
Yeah, and very presentational.
Very presentational. Like there were smaller bands that had a rich father, and I don't want to name any of those bands, but their dad would buy like a PA and a truck and lights. And then like a band like the Newsboys would take them on tour. And not just the Newsboys, lots of bands would take them on tour and say, if you drive all this shit and you fucking hang all this stuff every morning, you can have the opening slot. And people would do it. And in the regular music market, like the market that we're in, that's not going to happen. That's like wrong. You know what I mean? Like but he straight up said that to me. And that's when I sort of really started to back out. 2012, 2013, I was like, oh shit. When he said that to me, it just really went to my core. Because he's such a generous, giving man who isn't a Christian and will never be one.
Okay, so bigger picture here for a second. It's a weird question to bring up, but I think it's pertinent to the conversation. Like, would you still classify yourself as Christian?
In this conversation with you, because you understand what I'm saying, I would say I'm a Christian. But to a person on the street, I would say no. Because I don't believe in heaven or hell.
Yeah, that system isn't what you mean when you say you're a Christian.
Because when you say you're a Christian on the street, you're
immediately all these awful things.
You voted for Trump. You know what I mean? Like you just
so it's just easy to say, I'm not. 100%.
It's easier, and it's probably more true in a social aspect.
Completely.
You know what I'm saying? And in a worldview, it's more true.
So with that in mind, Underoath is growing, and when Underoath is still a Christian band, you're still, the message is, this is Christianity is the thing, come to Jesus. When did that shift and change as a band or you individually, where you're like, no, I'm not comfortable with this anymore. Like, this isn't what I think we should be doing.
And when you grow up completely in church, all your friends are charismatic Christians. You go to Christian school or you're homeschooled. Like a lot of us in our band were homeschooled.
I was homeschooled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But homeschooled through the lens of Christianity.
Yeah, absolutely.
You grew up with no culture. I was sitting in a podcast a couple weeks ago with a guitar player in our band. He's like, so what turned you on to music? What was, and I think the answer they expected was like, I saw some Stones with my dad when I was 8 and it was fucking crazy. And it gave me goosebumps and made me well up. He goes, well, we grew up with no culture. And I was like, oh. Yeah. Like the first time I heard avant-garde music, besides my Uncle Richard showing me Nirvana, was local bands. And then my dad every Friday would sneak the Eagles in or something. But like, we never heard cool music.
It just doesn't exist.
That was my upbringing too.
No culture.
Yeah. It was like local bands all in on that.
No culture. So we started touring full-time in 2003. And the extent of our evangelicism at the time was like, we'd play a show, mostly with non-Christian bands at this point, and we'd be like, Jesus loves you at the end. It wasn't like, come up here and
convert.
Yeah. So you start to meet people on the road and you're like, there's no way this person is quotation fingers evil. Like, how is that possible?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense that they're off to hell. Yeah, that makes no sense.
That doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Because you meet these people that write this incredibly like beautiful music, and they have this message of like, either it's angst or it's hope or it's emotional music, whatever it is. And you're like, you connect with it. And it's really difficult for you as a person to look at them. And what we were taught growing up is, if you don't accept Jesus into your heart as your Lord and Savior, you will spend the rest of eternity burning in hell.
Yeah, quite extreme.
Boiled down to what it is. So let's call the fucking kettle the kettle. That's what it is. So you go meet people from all these walks of life and you're like, no. Like, there's no way.
Yeah, that worldview just fundamentally doesn't make any sense.
But then you feel guilty for feeling that way. And that's the most difficult part. So it sort of started to unravel for us. And in the Christian circles, we call it deconstruction, which I fucking hate that term.
It's the fancy word for it. Why don't you like it?
Because it feels cheap. It feels cheaper than what it is. Like, to get into my beliefs for a second, I think God, he, she, they, them, whatever it is, I think made humans and made the human psyche and made it to unwind things. That's why we have modern medicine and we have Teslas. Like, you know what I mean? It made it, whatever that being is, made it to unwind stuff. And if you don't unwind it, how do you know what's true? That's why I hate the term deconstruction, because you're not really breaking something. You're just doing what you were designed to do.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Which is to ask questions and push the envelope and go, well, this book was written who knows how long ago, and then it was canonized by folks, and the bulk of it was written to Jewish people in one part of the world. So how is it for me? And how is it completely infallible? How is that real? Like, and being able to ask that question to me isn't deconstruction. It's just normal.
Yeah, just like a very logical human brain thing to think
if I
about.
gave you a book that said robots are going to eat your children, you'd unwind that motherfucker, even if you were told it was true.
It's so funny. We're so identical. I had such a similar outlook where I was everything you've said, except instead of being in music, it was like going to university and realizing these people are essentially better than me. They're nicer, they're kinder, they're more ethical. They're not Christians, so it makes no sense that they're going to go to hell. And you just unpack it from there.
Yeah, so we get out on the road, you meet all these people, and you slowly start to realize, like, you're having kind of the same experiences at live shows as you would in church in a way, minus the speaking part, because people are crying. And at this point, we put out an album in 2004 called They're Only Chasing Safety that it blew up.
Yeah, Joey told me that story yesterday of that happening on Warped Tour from week 1 to week 3 or 4.
It was insulated because there was no social media.
Yeah.
Primitive social media, like, you know, there was, I think MySpace had kind of started at that point.
Yeah, so you don't know how big you're growing. You've got no numbers to look at.
We had this bus that was older than all of us. It was our first bus and it broke down constantly. So we rode in various places. I spent 3 weeks in a van with a guy who would go on to become Skrillex.
Yeah.
Amazing.
He was in a band at the time called From First to Last.
Yeah.
You know,
God, this world's so small, isn't it? It's so funny. This crossover is mad.
Yeah, but by the end of that summer, our merch guy told us at the end of the summer that he had sold 50,000 CDs. And we're like, what?
Well, you're getting like sound scans. That's really the only thing that is telling you.
There's no streaming. You can't go look at your monthlies and go, they're doing well or not. And then that October, we had a tour, our first real like support tour with Coheed and Cambria. And we get on the tour and I thought that people were just going to kind of stare at us. And we get on the tour and it was bananas.
They were in, they knew the music, knew the lyrics.
It was bananas. Like the guys from Coheed did an interview a number of years ago where they were like, 75% of the people were there to see them.
That's not what you want. That's not what you want from your opener, do you?
They were huge.
They were huge, but it was wild. And we were still in a van.
And was that record a Christian record?
I mean,
or that's when you were starting to?
No, yes, we would say every night still, Jesus Loves You. And then we made another record after that in 2006 called Define the Great Line. It was bigger. It was number 2 on Billboard, which at the time was the largest debut from a Christian artist in history.
Huh.
It did 100,000 copies in 5 days.
Incredible.
Insane. And around that record, it kind of started to unwind. A guy in the band got addicted to cocaine, and we all started to kind of just form these different opinions. Some guys more zealous about Christianity, some guys not at all. A couple years later, the bass player was like, "I'm an atheist."
Yeah, right. The worst thing you want to hear in a Christian
the whole
band.
time kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Oh, that poor bastard. Just sitting there the whole time being like, oh, God.
We talk about now. He's still the same guy, still in the band. I mean, now we laugh about it, you know?
Yeah.
But the next album after that, in 2008, we began to say less and less about Christianity. And we've never talked about this together, but I think at the core of it, if I surmise what I think, it was because we didn't want to alienate people.
You guys were bigger than what could be contained by Christian music at that point.
We were. We were. And all of our tours were with non-Christian bands. And, you know, it was Taking Back Sunday. And in 2006, we did the big Black Parade tour with My Chemical Romance. And, you know, like we were very...
Well, there were limitations that Christian music would have put on you.
It put you in a box socially, but it also puts you in a box on the business side.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest piece, again, we've never talked about this, it's just me surmising. I think that when you go, I'm a Christian band, you really put your art in a box. And people assume it's going to sound one way. And they also assume, I think a big tragedy of the Christian music industry is there's some beautiful songs in that world. And there's some great writers in that world. And there's some messages in that world that I think could help the world. But when you put that moniker on it, you make it a sushi restaurant. Well, I don't like sushi.
You're putting up a massive wall in front of you.
Yeah, well, and it probably kind of forces you to have more clarity on religion if you're making Christian music and have like more definition and not be able to explore not thinking Christianity is the only way.
People are still angry. If you look at the comments, if you go on Underoath socials, people are like, why are you saying fuck in a song?
You've still got your audience of that type of Christian believer that's looking at you guys going, how dare you swear?
I really do think the reason is because when you're young and you need some anxious, teen angsty fringe music, and you grew up in a home like I did, we provided something that your parents would let you listen to, even though it wasn't massively like, it wasn't worship music. You needed completely. That outlet because it didn't exist when I was a kid in the 80s and the 90s. You needed it. And then we took it from you.
Is there a thing in America? Because if you look in New Zealand, a lot of our bands that are doing really well, that are secular, you rewind to their childhood and they generally grew up in a church where they had access to all the instruments and they learned there, and that's why they're good musicians. Is there a similar thing in America where you find like a lot of these people that are very talented did have that start in the church because they got access to all this amazing gear?
I think the best players come from church.
Yeah, so that's the thing here as well. It's not just a New Zealand thing. The best players come from
church because you spend so much time there.
And you're so dedicated because it's for God.
Well, and music is so directly connected to the type of church I grew up in anyways. You know, there's sects of Christianity where there's no instruments. The Church of Christ, they do like hymns with no music. But it's so directly correlated with every single service on a weekly basis. You know, when I was growing up, it was Monday, it was Sunday night, Wednesday. Like it was 3-4 times a week.
It's practice.
So you're just playing.
And live. You're playing live as well and getting that thing going.
And I think you're getting parental buy-in. If like a 13-year-old wants to join a band and go play at his friend's house, like for a religious parent, they're not going to let you do that, but they'll let you go to church 3 nights a week. And
all the best gear is sitting there for you to use.
I used to vacuum our church.
Yeah, they love interns churches. They love making you work for free.
Paid $100 a month.
Oh, it's not bad.
That's not
That's not
bad.
great.
It's better than nothing. In New Zealand, they give you nothing.
So I got paid like $125 a month, but I would do it late at night because at this point, Underoath was like playing The Refuge, like I told you about, and I would go in there super late because it had to be done by Sunday morning or you'd get your ass chewed. So I would do it like 2 a.m. on Saturday. I'd turn the PA on, like the sound system, and just rip the drums.
Yeah, amazing.
That's what I did for years is I would like sneak.
Mm-hmm.
I got caught one time. I had my shirt off. I was playing Nirvana.
They thought you were possessed by
I
the
was
devil.
playing-
They thought you were possessed by the
Dude,
devil.
I was playing Nirvana. I was fucking soaking wet like I had been rowing a boat, dude. Just with my shirt off, just fucking ripping. And this guy came in. I hid. I ran and hid, shirtless, soaking wet, dude.
It's really good.
Yeah, man.
It's a really, really good moment.
It is. You're right. Like in here in America, at least, like, and especially in the South, like where I am at now in Nashville, someone comes in and they're great to do a session, and you get to talking, and 9 times out of 10 they grew up in church playing music.
There's that weird built-in thing as well where like you wouldn't be where you are without that kind of church system and without starting with that maybe built-in audience of Christians, right?
There's so much trauma that comes with it. My therapist is a woman out here, and I tell her about it and just the feelings that I have. And I live with a strange guilt a lot that I sometimes can't put a finger on, about being gone on tour or about the way that I feel about certain events, or it just insert a time, and I feel guilty about it. And she sort of helped me uncover, like, that's because of how you grew up. You know, but there are things about it that I adore, and I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful for the way that I grew up with that musical upbringing and that opportunity to play so frequently. But also, man, there's a fear and a trauma that the sect of Christianity I grew up in sewed into my life that is really, really difficult to deal with today as a 42-year-old man. You know what I mean? Things that I would never subject my children to.
You will know that shit tunnels into your brain as a kid and like you can't fully remove it. Like it just sits there on some level,
There's
right?
no amount of therapy or SSRI, in my opinion, from what I've found in my own life as a 42-year-old man, that can alleviate some of the fear and some of the guilt we were raised with. Do you know what I mean? And
100%.
And it sounds really fatalist to say, like, there's no end, but I don't know that there is. And that scares the shit out of me a little bit because I'm raising 2 kids now.
In a way, like what a great gift to have because you're not going to pass that weird fear-based shit onto them.
Oh, no.
Like they're so lucky. Like that's a great thing. Like you know exactly what not to do. Like for instance, I'm not going to give my kids an eternal fear of like burning in hell forever. Like what a great thing not to give them.
Around Halloween, this is what I think. I thought about this morning, knowing we were coming in here to talk about this. It's about to be Halloween time, which is my kid's favorite shit.
Yeah, mine
It's the
too.
best.
The house is wild. My wife FaceTimed me this morning with decorations out right now
Yeah.
in August.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing? She's like, well, Towns wanted to get it all out. That's our 5-year-old.
You wouldn't have been allowed to do that shit when you were 10.
So there's bins all over the house, and my daughter and her, like, in their underwear hanging fucking
Skeletons.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
growing up, around Halloween, we weren't allowed to even call it Halloween. We called it Harvest Festival. So it was like,
It's so weird.
and when you
hey?
dressed up, you had to dress like fucking Moses or something. You couldn't be like Freddy Krueger or like,
Yeah, of course. You want to be something exciting.
you
and
wanted to be
scary.
Spider-Man because it's sick.
Something cool.
You wanted to be from the guy from Kids.
No, you're going to be fucking Moses.
Yeah,
you're gonna
you got to be
be-
Joseph. Fucking sucks. You get to wear
Put
like
a robe and long hair.
You get to have a fucking belt made of rope. God bless you, son. No, so around this time of year, I think about this. The larger churches would do these things called. There was many different names: Redemption House, Hell House.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
you would go,
Yeah.
and there'd be like a large production maze built. And the one that sticks in my mind is it's based around a night of a prom.
Mhm.
So you walk in this room, and there's live actors. It's like, what was that show in New York where it's like just happening and you're in it? It was Sleep No More.
Big trend. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was like that. So you would go, and there'd be all these teenagers dancing, and then they start drinking,
Yeah. Uh-oh.
right?
Yeah.
And you go through this other hallway, and they're drunk.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go to the next hallway, and there's 2 vehicles, cars that they put inside of a building that one's crashed and the other one's, the door's open. And then you see a body on the ground. Right?
Mangled, yeah.
Mangled, and there's smoke and a fucking fence in front of it. And there's just thousands of teenagers over the holiday walking through this. And you get to the next room, and it's Satan himself, like with the horns and the fucking fingernails and the makeup and the whole thing. And he's taken this guy to hell.
Oh, amazing.
He's taken the guy in the accident to hell because that guy was drinking and fucking his girlfriend, whatever it was. I don't remember the exact. And then this is the part that it gives me goosebumps to talk about. You go into the next room, and it's like pillowy and white, and it smells good, and there's like Mozart or something playing. And the other kid that was in the accident, he knew Christ, and he went to heaven. And then there's one final room that has like auditorium-style chairs in it, and you go in there, and they ask you where you want to go when you die.
Oh, God.
And you've just seen this.
Yeah, it's like...
And you're 13, and your brain is made of any malleable material you want to come up with. And
yeah, I'll take the room with Mozart, please.
Yeah, you don't want the hell room.
Whiteness.
Can you imagine making your child go?
I can't imagine it.
It's such a weird, warped way to like take in Halloween. And I'm saying like in New Zealand, I mean, we don't really have Halloween to the same extent America has it. But I grew up thinking Halloween was like the most evil thing you could imagine. It's like, that's how Satan gets like into you, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm glad you're celebrating it now with your kids. They're going to have some cool, fun memories, you know?
My mom was like the one that was like, she'd fuck around a little bit. Like
what she was doing, she'd let you go off to as a 14-year-old with these like.
No, she would
join
take
a
us
band.
trick or treating at like 6 and 7 years old and not tell my dad.
Oh, your mom's baller.
This
baller. Is great. I love this.
Crazy woman.
Yeah, cool.
We'll see if we can find you a hell house.
I'd love to. Okay, this is good.
You need to go.
Well, no, that's the thing. I think that so many people have come through that type of church system around the world, but very much so in America, and been spat out the other side and don't really know how to talk about it with other people and don't know they've all been through a similar experience of like a really fucked up thing. But it is really fucked up. But we're all here. We sort of went through versions of it.
And there was some like positivity that most of what makes us good came from that.
100%.
But also all the PTSD of it is still there. Just those like core values came from there, and we took them and realized they didn't need to come with all this other
bullshit attached.
Yes.
Yeah. No one's ever put it that way, which is such a simple way to put it. But you're right.
My wife and I have that conversation about the kids all the time of like, we don't need that to give them this, but it was just this easy shortcut our parents were able to take.
I don't think our parents did it out of malice.
Oh, hell no.
A lot of times it sounds like when I'm talking about this, especially in this conversation, it's like, they took us to Hell House and now I'm fucking crazy.
Oh, no, they cared so much. They wanted to give you all of that. Like it was out of love, which is the craziest thing.
That's the craziest thing. And I think as parents, for you and I, people like us that grew up in it, people like all three of us, we know now how to love our children.
Yep.
And show them the same values, but without all the bullshit.
Yep.
Okay, great. Thanks for coming in.
Dude, this was so fun.
Yeah,
God.
Thanks for doing this.
Anytime.
I liked him a lot.
Yeah,
we were the same age, 42, and it was just quite bizarre the number of formative, similar things that we had in our lives, including an eternal, horrific fear of hell that's like permanently stuck in our heads.
Well, and getting caught shirtless in the church playing drums.
and that too, totally normal. That was such an interesting thing because I think of a lot of the big bands that came out of New Zealand, and a lot of them had their start in church. It's like you get access to all the equipment, you learn how to play live, you learn everything, you've got an audience built in that turns up all the time. And so those people end up going and making music out in the world.
Yeah, it really created a space, I think, for kids to get into music. And
yeah, there's the one good thing I could say about church is that it does create some like amazing musicians like later on in the piece, you know, when they get out of that church environment.
Yeah. Were you going to concerts at that age when you were
No,
a CCM fan?
I wasn't. So the only altar call stuff would happen like within the church environment. So hearing him talk about that, the idea of like going to a band that's sort of like objectively like quite cool and then at the end doing an altar call is wild to me because I've only seen that happen in churches.
I don't know that I've ever witnessed that. I've seen Pedro the Lion where like Dave Bazan would get a little bit, but not
little bit
quite,
preachy.
A little bit preachy.
I noticed that there was a bit of that at the Creed show. that got into that world where at the end of towards the end of the set, he was sort of talking about, hey, it's time to like go out there for Jesus, you know?
Yeah. But it was never, with like Page of the Line, it was never, though, like, you're bad if you don't believe this. It was more like, this is what I believe. And
you could be a part of this as well.
Yes.
Have you seen Underoath perform?
I have not.
We should go. We should go at some point.
We just missed them at the forum.
Yeah, I know, annoying timing.
But yes, next time they come through.
I also am very excited. He does want to chase up that Hell House for us.
We should see, though, I think they stopped doing the altar, or they stopped doing the Jesus Loves You at the end, but we should see if he'll bring it back for the show that we go to.
The show, we're going to do some nostalgia, and at the end of this thing, we're going to do like a little bit of preaching. If you haven't been in those church environments, the music is such a big part of those happy clappy churches. Because, you know, if you're not part of that Christian world, like think how together and happy you feel at a show with everyone around you. Mm-hmm. That's what church music and church bands and this contemporary scene kind of does within church. It's like it makes you feel like, oh yes, something is moving in me. It must be Jesus.
Well, and it's like when you go to a concert and they play their biggest hit, and like everyone's singing along and gets into it. Like they
the
do
light
that
has come out.
Every song is that, because it's the same church song that you know.
So finely tuned. That reminded me of something. So in New Zealand, have you ever heard of Brooke Fraser?
No.
She's like one of our sort of most respected kind of like outer statesmen of like music. Beautiful voice, amazing songwriter. Brooke Fraser's huge. She has an alternate name. I think it's Brooke Ligetwood, or I wrote it down. It's a really unusual surname. Ligetwood. That's her Christian, like
actually a Christian name.
And so under that name, she writes a bunch of Hillsongs, big hits. So Hillsong makes so much money out of their music, which is essentially all altar call music. And a lot of people in New Zealand don't know that she has this other identity. And that's how she's made like a shit ton of money, is from writing for their like horrific Hillsong church.
I don't think I really realized the commercialization of the music. Like when I was going to church, I was not like gonna buy the CD.
I feel it's like once you're up to that like Hillsong level of like bigger churches, that music is buyable, sellable, and they make a shit ton of music out of it. A shit ton of money out of it.
Yeah. Aaron mentioned the kind of like singular culture aspect to Christianity, how when he grew up in Christianity, there was not this exposure to other cultures. Do you think that's singular to Christianity?
I think it depends like what breed of Christianity it is. Like I can't speak to any others because I wasn't in it, but like certainly in my version of Christianity, which was a slightly happy clappy Baptist version, super shut down to like other ideas and cultures and anything. Like it was like a very white scene. And as a white guy, I fitted right in.
That was my childhood too, but I didn't know if that was just being a kid.
Yeah, maybe that too. I mean, for me, leaving the city I grew up in and going to university, that was the first time I was exposed to people from other religious backgrounds and other cultures. And that's when I was like grappling, which is a weird thing to grapple with when you're 17, 18, whether I could listen to Nine Inch Nails records or not.
Well, it's interesting that the just exposure that there's other cultures is so like earth-shattering that it makes you question that.
Yeah.
Like just the like singular nature of this is everything, and not exposing to those things, that when you are allowed
to like
see
look
other
outside
cultures, it makes you question the one you came from.
There was always an example given in the church I went to, and in the world of Christian music, I was thinking about like whether you can listen to other music or not. Is they'd like do a role play at youth group, and like the Christian would like get up on the table, and someone else would stay on the ground. And the idea was like, it's so much easier for the unbelieving sinner to pull the Christian down off the table, for the Christian to pull them up onto the table.
Yep.
And that was like the approach you had to everything. So like you avoid people that aren't Christian and not listen to evil music and hang out with them lest they bring you down. metaphorically,
Yeah, yeah.
and also
Basically.
then literally into hell at some point.
Yeah.
He talked about deconstruction in that, and I think it's interesting. He didn't like that word, but my deconstruction process took it's probably still going, but it took, I'd say, between 5 and I was very slow to come out of Christianity entirely. It started I went to university and I met this Jewish girl, and in my mind, Jewish people, they don't believe in Jesus being the Son of God, so they've got the. But I met her and she was just objectively a much kinder, better person than me.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh,
I can see that.
Yeah.
I don't
It's
know
easy.
her, but
yeah, literally anyone.
Yeah.
It's not me. But I just sort of just objectively went, oh no, if she's going to go to hell, this makes zero sense. And that was my moment where I started unpacking things.
Yeah, I guess my upbringing in the church, there was definitely hell, and that was part of the conversation. But I don't think it was so much a focus from my parents that you were going to do this and that's going to be the result. I mean, it was there a little bit within church, but I don't remember thinking that anyone that didn't believe was going to go to hell.
You didn't have that. Yeah,
No.
I can't remember where I got that from, whether I think it was mainly from church or some of the Christian books I was reading. But for me, it was very much if you don't believe in this, it's eternal hellfire forever.
I went to Bible study classes too, and so maybe I just wasn't paying enough attention.
You drifted off. You're probably listening to too many evil bands at the time.
Distracting me.
Something I found quite funny when I was looking into this is that the rise of contemporary Christian music, some of the Christians weren't happy about it because even that was too much for them. A guy called Brian Schwertley, which is a great name, of the Reformed Presbyterian tradition, wrote in 2001 that the inclusion of CCM in a worship service violates the second commandment. I don't actually know what is the second commandment. And the regulative principle of worship, because it adds man-made intervention, lyrics, and instrumental music. So just the fact it has man-made elements makes it evil,
They
which
didn't
is
want gospel and hymns.
it's pretty wild. Okay, what is the second commandment? Let's see. You shall not make for yourself an idol.
Yeah. I mean,
so I can't put yourself first.
I do get, though, how Christianity, it's almost apocryphal. Christian music then just being monetized to the degree that it did is so separate from what the intent of it should be, to spread the word.
Yeah, capitalism suddenly becomes a part of it. And for the record, Christian music did make a shit ton of money. I think it petered off in the 2010s, started not getting as big monetarily, but was still hugely popular.
Which once you start throwing money into it, then you start kind of questioning motive and intent behind things.
And saying that, a lot of those churches didn't have any problems with amassing a shit ton of money as well, right?
Which maybe some of them are using it too charitably and
100%.
Not buying private jets with them.
100%. Are there any of those early Christian bands that you listen to that you still love, or have you kind of even thinking of that list? Because until next week's episode, until DC Turk and Newsboys kind of were revealed as having some pretty shitty aspects, Jars of Clay I probably still would listen to today.
Mine's weirder though, because I don't think of any of those bands as Christian first. So I still love Sufjan Stevens, Page of the Lion, Me Without You.
It's nothing about being Christian. It's just they're a band.
Yeah.
And amongst all the other music that you love.
Yes. I'm not drawn to it because of them
that.
being Christian members, which I don't know if even any of them, that seems to be the trajectory for a lot of these people, is that
they've deconstructed and moved away.
They're not anymore.
Yeah. I mean, it was a real 90s, early 2000s thing, I think. That it was a trend, this kind of Christian music. I think the culture has changed a lot since then. But yeah, Christian music. We're going to go dark in next week's episode in a really weird way. Because, as you'd probably expect in this world, some weird stuff happens. Feedback? Are you ready for some?
Let's get some feedback.
People still emailing in about the joys of banana pudding. which makes me think we probably should do an episode.
Yeah, for that.
Already some controversy. The way you were talking about it at the end of the Chipotle episode sounded like you didn't really understand what American banana pudding is. So Rob was right that banana pudding is just a type of banana-flavored pudding, like a custard. But when you say banana pudding, you're referring to a whole dessert with the base of banana-flavored pudding that has vanilla wafers in it and whipped cream. Now, it doesn't sound like a big deal or a big difference, but trust me, that a banana pudding connoisseur will know.
So not banana-flavored pudding, specifically banana pudding is its own thing.
Yes. But we'll find all about that in the future. Madison wrote in, after Rob mentioned people complaining about the size of their burritos, I wondered if this wasn't common knowledge. You can ask for extra of anything for free as long as it isn't a protein or queso or guac. I always get an extra scoop of rice, beans, and corn salsa on my burrito. While this makes my burrito absolutely massive, it means I can get 2 meals out of my burrito every single time.
Burrito sounds good right now from
Little
Chipotle.
Chipotle hack. You're going to go straight off there after this?
That was the worst part of doing that episode.
Being in a coma afterwards?
Well, but whenever I think about it, I want to eat it.
I can see the look in your eye now.
Yeah.
It's like you got activated.
Yeah.
I did too, by the way.
And I again, not my favorite burrito or Mexican food.
It's just something's like it's satisfying.
Yeah.
And it's like, it tickles something, right? I think it's the mass of it. It's just like,
and like the tortilla, the softness of their flour tortillas. I don't know.
I'm getting it now as well.
I want a burrito now, though.
Barbara wrote in, not Streisand, another one. This is in regards to Tunnel Girl and how deep you own on a plot of land. Many state and federal laws have mineral rights clauses. Many city audiences can dictate what you are and are not allowed to do under a home. Owning a condo many times does not include the land it sits on. There's also power and sewer rights, where the utilities own those areas. It seems Tunnel Girl could get quite hosed up in serious litigation over what she's doing without a permit. I will note she does have a permit now. My point is there are mineral rights and things under your land that you do not have an automatic right to. Christine, I'm a mystified Canadian who finds America puzzling most of the time. Been following along and listening to the pod since the beginning. Just listened to the Tunnel Girl app and coincidentally discovered this article that was posted last night on our national news website. Headline, police say Calgary man tunneled into upstairs neighbor's unit after a dispute. And that just reminded me of all those amazing instances you hear of people like living in walls, in attics.
Or the movie Parasite.
So yeah, tunneling within homes in America. Another fascinating aspect. Coney episode, still getting a lot of feedback. E wrote in, my favorite part of the Coney 2012 story is Angelina Jolie's involvement. She was outspoken in support of catching Joseph Coney after Invisible Children released Coney 2012. According to a series of leaked emails from 2012 between her and the ICC chief prosecutor, apparently Coney was an Angelina Jolie fan. So much so that the chief prosecutor of the ICC offered her and Brad Pitt to work with them to catch him.
Oh, a sting operation.
Which is incredible.
Wow.
One of the emails says, forget other celebrities, she's the one. She loves to arrest Coney, she is ready. Probably Brad will go also. The scheme was for Angelina to invite Coney to a dinner party and then have some special forces team arrest him during dinner. My favorite part of the story is from reading the emails, it becomes clear that the chief prosecutor of the ICC is fully in love with Angelina Jolie, who then proceeds to ghost him. I personally believe this is the reason the scheme never came to fruition. In response to her ghosting, he emails, Dear Angie, I hope you're well. I miss you. And I've got a link for the emails. I'm going to put them in the show notes because they're really, really good. Yeah. Incredibly good. I wish that sting had gone down.
Yeah.
I mean,
they should have made a movie about it too.
They fucking should. Another fascinating thing, very American, in regards to Tunnel Girl. Jillian wrote, Kayla, may be exposing herself to high levels of radon, depending on what part of Virginia she lives in. I live in southwestern Ontario, Canada, and my partner and I bought a new home last year. My sister, who works in public health in Alberta, encouraged us to get our home tested for radon. We purchased a radon detector, waited about a month, only to discover we had high labels of radon. It's a leading cause of cancer in Canada. I had no idea about any of this.
Yeah.
Had you heard about radon issues in the ground?
I didn't know we should be checking your property for it.
Yeah,
but
maybe something to think about when you're doing this remodel. Check for radon. See if there's any on the property. You can apparently borrow a radon monitor from your local library for free to assess the radon level in your home. Little PSA. Finally, Heidi wrote in. She was a fan of the Cumtree episode we did a long time ago. Today, I listened randomly to your episode about Cumtrees, not realizing that it would tie in with 9/11. Today just happens to be 9/11. On the same day, my daughter brought home this paper from school, and it is her daughter drawing the 9/11 memorial tree, which is a cum tree. She read the story about the tree, drew these beautiful pictures, and thanks to you, David, all I can think about is how the tree smells like cum. Just thought that was very funny. So many emails. I'm going to stop there, else we'll just be talking all day. flightlessbirdchat@gmail.com if you have any feedback. Any parting words? Robert. What's your middle name? Robert.
Gregory.
Any other thoughts, Gregory?
No.
None?
No.
Okay. Let's go and enjoy our day. We will catch you next week. Send your feedback in flightlessbirdchat@gmail.com.
Tell us about your favorite Christian bands.
If you're a fan of Christian bands or if you're in a Christian band, email us. See you next week.